This episode of ACMG Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.
Hi guys, this is Ruben Langdon. You're listening to ACMG Presents Talk Time Live. Shoryuken!
It's time. Talk time. Let's go. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Live. Started in the 80s with Matt Cross. Dudes in the hood might have called that soft, but I carried that cross like Jesus did. Fast forward, I teach the kids to learn how to let go, live life, and show love to all things that don't matter where y'all from. And luckily there's a show called Talk Time. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Dax kicks the facts on all the geek news, special guests and unbiased reviews. Suburban kids, the hipster street dudes, all can learn something new. Me too. I heard words when no faith is empty. I stayed the course so my haters tempt me. Beat the podcast, that'll make them envy. It ain't too trendy, it's ACMG. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Anime, comics, movies, and games. Come on and let's get it. Talk time. Live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is ACMG Presents Talk Time Live, the Prime Show. I am your host, Xavier Josiah, awake and happy as hell as a wrestling fan. Last night was the premiere with the inaugural AEW Double or Nothing pay-per-view. And if you're a wrestling fan out there, my God, you have got to be happy right now that there's an alternative out there. We needed a new alternative to wrestling like we need a new president right now. And it looks like we got it. They did not disappoint. I absolutely enjoyed it. And shout out to everybody involved in that whole entire thing. And this is just wrestling fans out there. But there's some changes coming. There's hope coming. And I want to see more hope, not only just for wrestling, but for just this entire country. So hopefully this is a segue over to more things to come in 2020 because we desperately need it. But I digress. We are here to talk all things anime, comics, movies, and games, and we will do just that. Today, we're going to review Doom Patrol, the whole full season of Doom Patrol. I haven't gotten a chance to ever talk about this, but I finally got a chance to binge and watch the entire thing on the DC Universe network, and I am eager to talk about this show. This is this very ambitious and risk-taking show. Crazy as hell. So we're going to talk about that as well. And I did get to see John Wick 3, so we're going to talk about that as well. I will be remiss not to talk about that movie and what I thought about that. So we'll be doing it like a double header in our topic of the week. But I got to say, I am not only happy about last night's pay-per-view, but I'm also happy. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy right now. I'm not even going to say this in select start. I'm going to say this right now. And those who've played the game understand my feelings right now, but I have officially reached Fire God status. And if you understand what that is Mortal Kombat 11, the Gauntlet. I have finally beat that stupid-ass Gauntlet mode that I've been grinding on for God knows how long since I got it. I guess it took me about a month because, Mortal Kombat came out this month and it now is almost like the end of the month. So it really hasn't been that long, but it felt like it was forever grinding on this damn thing. I really, really, really hate it and loved it at the same time. I also hate and love Ed Boon at the same time. But I did it, which means I officially got the Liu Kang Fire God skin. The only thing I really kind of am mad at about it is that you don't get the same power moveset that he has on the story mode, at least not yet. I have a feeling they're going to release that. And if I was them, if I was NetherRealm Studios, I would absolutely release that and give it to those who made it and beat the Gauntlet stage. They should get that for free because that was one of the most challenging of all modes I've played in years. I mean, like, especially for a fighting game. I don't think I've played a fighting game that challenging since Street Fighter 1 when I beat Sagat. There's nothing that's ever been this challenging. And trust me, the final stage is ridiculously hard. It's the only stage in the game in the entire game that is set on very hard, and for a reason. They really try to grind you hard, man. It's stressful. I remember playing Metroids in the 80s, like a long time ago. I wish I still had my VHS tapes, because I believe I actually recorded the actual of me actually beating Metroid. And when I did that, it was one of the hardest. That at the time was one of the hardest challenges I've ever had to do in video games. And when I beat that game, all my energy just depleted. It just took so much out of me. I legit fell to the ground. And but I was extremely happy and proud that I stuck to it and, got through it. This is kind of the same thing. This is one of my video game milestones right here. So actually, that's not a bad idea. I might actually do a episode of Select Start talking about video game milestones. But nonetheless, I have reached it. I am very happy about it, and congratulations to everybody who reached that status, because they had to go through all hell to do it. And just to let you know, you can go through some of the stages with AI, but there are stages that AI doesn't know what the hell they're doing, so you really have to grind it yourself, and especially at the very last board, you have to do it. So there's a great pride of being able to reach that level and succeed and supersede those levels to get to that point and beat it. So shout out to everybody out there who actually did. Now I'm just waiting to see what DLC they're going to bring off from there. But I digress. Like I said, we got a lot of news to go on. So without further ado, let's find out what's new in the world of ACMG.
And now it's time to find out what's new in the world of ACMG.
So before I begin, let me give another shout out again to friend and music producer DJ Cutman and his wife Maddie, on getting married this week. And not only am I congratulating him, but thanking him, because you'll be hearing a lot more of his music here from Game Chops. You can check out more of his music at music.gamechops.com. And he's awesome. If you're down with chiptunes and everything, this is the guy behind all of that. You probably heard it in everywhere. It just, when it comes to nerdcore music and chiptunes music, he is one of the most premier producers out there for that. Recommended and endorsed by Xavier Woods of the WWE, of the New Day. So you can't go wrong with that. So, stick around as you listen to this show. You'll be hearing some of the music from here. You'll definitely be hearing it from Select Start, because I'm going to utilize a lot of that music throughout the entire show and change a bit formats based upon those tunes too. So stick around for that as well. But I digress. We got some news to talk about here. So we got to start out with some very sad news this week, as one of the most premier artists and colorists in Marvel Comics has passed away. The death of comic book artist Justin Ponser is mourned among the comic book industry this week. Justin passed away on May 18th after his 2-year battle of cancer, according to a post on his professional Facebook page. Known as J-Po, he is responsible for the colorist in some of the most memorable and legendary comic book series, such as New Avengers, Spider-Man, Infinity, and The Death of Wolverine. I own Spider-Man. He is phenomenal. I've owned actually a lot of the books that I actually read. The recent books that I've read has a lot of his coloring. You could tell how beautiful he did it and how much it just comes out at you when he did it. So he was awesome. He was absolutely awesome, and way too young, by the way. I don't really know what age he was, but judging by the pictures that I've seen of him, it was way too soon. It was unfortunately way too soon. He is also responsible for coloring the majority of the Marvel Ultimate series of comics. So yeah, when I read like Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man and such, and especially the Miles Morales versions, you can see his artwork, his coloring work there as well. He's just he was phenomenal. He was really good, tremendous. I don't think colorists and inkers, which they used to be called, I think they used to be still called, but inkers and colorists don't get enough credit. It's always the artist that usually gets the credit for drawing it, but it also helps to have a colorist that really knows your style and really knows how to really bring it out and pop, because the artist does the black, just the sketches and the black and whites. Like if you go to a Jim Lee panel at San Diego Comic-Con, he never colors his stuff. It's just always a sketch. It's always a beautiful sketch, a tremendously beautiful sketch, but it's always a sketch. And it takes a lot of people to actually go in and color it and bring it out more and, just bring it to life. And these guys rarely ever get the credit that they deserve to do so. And his art style stood out as well. It takes a team to make something beautiful. That's for damn sure. Marvel's editor-in-chief, C.B. Cebulski, stated on Twitter, as anyone who ever met Justin Ponser knew, he was never just a colleague or a colorist or a creative person. He was family. He embraced life with the biggest of hearts, the widest of dreams, and the deepest of laughs. He made comics a better place. J. Poe's loss is felt forever. Legendary artist Jim Lee from DC also chimed in, as he's worked with him as well as in the past. Also commented on Twitter by saying, R.I.P. Justin Ponser. He started as a colorist at Wildstorm and not only produced stunning work, but managed to top every other member of the studio when it came to Darius. He was a great, easygoing guy with an amazing can-do spirit and produced spectacular work for many companies since. He will be dearly missed, and my thoughts and prayers to the family and friends of Justin Ponser. Cancer's a bitch. Cancer is just such a bitch, and such an early age. It's really sad. But it's safe to say that his work will keep him alive forever. He'll always be remembered for a lot of the work that he's done, and people will always keep reading the books that he's worked on. So his legacy is set. Rest in peace, my friend. So let's talk about something else going on this week, and that was the premiere of the Terminator Dark Fate trailer. This is very interesting. It's one of the most interesting trailers in a while, most notably because the return of director James Cameron is back in the helm of this whole thing. So we may get the Terminator we've been waiting for, because there's been a whole bunch of Terminators, Terminator 3 and all those other ones prior to, and people have tried their best to give you the essence of that since Judgment Day, which was clearly, absolutely, still the best Terminator movie of all the Terminator movies out there. But this one looks to be very interesting. And I noticed something. Every other Terminator movie outside of 1 and 2 did not have Linda Hamilton, I think, in there. But let's go on, because this is showing a lot. I forgot, and I gotta really get his name too. So, the actual trailer starts with two people and a female Terminator running from a new type Terminator, played by, I believe, and I forgot the actor's name. He played Ghost Rider on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he's going to be set to play Ghost Rider again. And in Hulu, I believe, who brought the rights to that, coming soon. So he's now the new Terminator, and vicious as hell. But this this version of the Terminator also has some sort of a transmutation ability, which, if you saw it, he was driving the truck, but his like skin or whatever was just mutating over to a whole nother skin, but his skeletal body was really weird. I can't do it justice in description of this audio right here. You would have to watch the trailer yourself, but it was deep. It was really cool. The female Terminator is protecting a girl from harm as they jump out of the exploding truck that the new type Terminator was destroyed while they were driving. It appears that the Terminator has them trapped for death when yet another truck stops, only for the driver to come out and reveal herself as Sarah Connor, the original Sarah Connor from Part 1 and Part 2 in Judgment Day, played by none other than the return of Linda Hamilton. If you guys are old enough to know who Linda Hamilton is, she was one of the baddest actors. There wasn't too many badass hardcore actresses back then, and I think she was a trailblazer at the time, because when Terminator 2 came out, and she did Part 1, and then she went on to do a version of Beauty and the Beast, which played on CBS at the time, and it was a highly popular show. And then Terminator 2 Judgment Day came out, and the biggest thing that came out of that movie was how well in shape she got for this deal. She was one of the first ones to like, look, I'm doing a big budget movie. I'm kicking it. And she got into mad shape back then. And we saw her handling the gun the way she did. And you saw the trailer back then. That trailer still is one of the best trailers ever as far as like hyping up somebody for a movie. And a big part of that was to Linda Hamilton just like handling her business. And you never at the time really saw women in that light before, but she kind of set the standards of like badass women in movies. A lot of credit has to go to her for that, because she was just, her portrayal of Sarah Connor, in Judgment Day was phenomenal. Like, people took her very seriously. She was just just one of the baddest chicks in the game, and still is. And she's back, a little bit older, still hardcore, still stunning, still in mad shape. I mean, like, she's no joke, and it's great to see her back on here as well. So hopefully I won't go through my notes here, but the female Terminator and the kid talks with Connor in some sort of motel. This is the next scene where they ask Sarah who she is. Sarah introduces herself, but then mentions that she never seen a Terminator like her before. She tells her that she seems like she's almost human, the female Terminator. And I'm saying the female Terminator because we don't know too much. These are teasers, so we don't know anything that's going on but what we see right now. This female Terminator says she is human, so that's actually a bit of an intrigue going on here. So maybe she's also another new type of Terminator, or actually a human, maybe an android. I don't know. This could be anything. Maybe some type of cyborg, per se. We don't know. But, or she's just made out to think that she's actually human. The female Terminator asks why Sarah cares so much about the little girl, to which Sarah tells her she was once her. So, next scene shows the three traveling in the woods to meet up with what appears to be the original Terminator, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, but much older. So this is interesting too, because if I'm correct, didn't he die in Judgment Day? I gotta watch that again. And by the way, last time I watched that, it still held up. I guarantee if I watch that movie again, it's gonna hold up still. But could have sworn he died in that movie when that came out too. So I don't know what's going on, or this is the original guy. This is the guy that they based the Terminator off of. I don't know. We'll see. Then hell breaks all loose when we see a couple of planes collide. So that was a thing. Followed by the female Terminator cleaning house, fighting the new type Terminator. She I don't know who this actress is, but she looks like she's built for the part. So this film is produced by James Cameron, returning to the helm, and interestingly noted, directed by Tim Miller. Yes, Tim Miller of the Deadpool movies. I am excited about this. I am very excited about this. James Cameron is back, so he's going to give us what we were looking for. And apparently, for what I understand and what I read, this is going to be based after. I don't know if that means they're erasing everything else that came after that, but this is based after Judgment Day. So I don't know if they're not considering the other movies canon or whatnot. I don't know, but we'll have to see from there. But I really dug it. I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to checking it out when it hits theaters very soon. So we'll see from there. Let's go into some really other news, talking about movies and big budget movies and action sci-fi movies and anime translated movies. We already had Battle Angel Alita, which actually was very good. Probably one of the best anime translated movies ever at this point. But now we got another one coming. One that's also been in the making for quite some time. Battle Angel Alita James Cameron has been trying to come out with that movie for like almost 20 years almost. This was another one. Crunchyroll announced that they have a director for the live action movie of Katsuhiro Otomo, legendary manga and anime film Akira. Now, if you've been a otaku for as long as I have, which is dating back to probably late 80s, they've been talking about doing this movie as well for quite some time. I think it was like in the 90s, near the 2000s, they were trying to, make light of this movie. But again, like Battle Angel Alita, to do an anime movie and bring it to life, you cannot do it at the time of the 80s or the 90s, because they just didn't have the mindset and the technology to bring that to life the way it should be. And if you watch Battle Angel Alita, and if you watch the anime and the OVA from back then, you know that they finally were able to do it, and they did it great. So, I mean, the same could be, because if you watched the Akira movie, so much has gone on in that movie. Sci-fi wise, like special effects, even special effects for what they did in that movie is just so ahead of its time. That to bring it to life, to have the CG power and the money to be able to budget to bring it to life, you would have to wait till right now. And now is the time to do it. But they need a good director, and I think they found a great director. Because they have chosen and they've picked none other than Thor Ragnarok director Taika Waititi to be a part of this movie. And if you love what he did in Thor Ragnarok, Taika is going to probably blow you away with this. I'm very excited. I'm absolutely interested in seeing what they're doing with this. And furthermore, to seal the deal, to make it absolutely sure, I guess, what's the word I'm trying to come at? Absolutely stamp the fact that they're coming out with this movie is that they have a release date. They already said it. This thing is going to be in motion, and they're looking to come out with this on May 21st, 2021. I'm excited about this as well. I've been dying for them to do this. I actually am interested because this is Neo Tokyo, if I'm correct. So I am wondering if they're going to stick to that place setting and have an Asian cast, and I think that would be a great idea to have an Asian cast for this. I would love for it. I think it's well deserved for them to have an all Asian cast for this. It makes sense. It's Neo Tokyo. I don't want them to, gentrify or Americanize the actual movie. So I'm looking forward to this. I hope they do it justice and do it right, because it's one thing you could do that to Battle Angel Alita, but this, I think, come on, you got to give us the the essence, the real essence of this movie. And it was set in Neo Tokyo. I should think it would be appropriate to have Japanese actors. Get some actors from Japan that are really popular, that are able to speak English here and really, give a crossover effect. We need to see new stars. I think we need to not only have new stars, but new diverse stars in this country. And why not bring some of the talent from that country over there? So I'm looking forward to this. I'm hoping that they do it justice from that point. So I want to talk about something that made me really happy this week. And I don't get the chance to talk about the comic book TV shows as much, because I used to have a show based on it, the Epic Weekly Rundown, which we used to talk about all these shows, because it's so many of them, you can't talk about them all in just one episode. It'll be this show will be like 4 hours long at best. So, but every once in a while, when I see something significant, I definitely want to talk about it. This week, Cloak and Dagger. I have been watching the series. This is a very slow burn series. I love the Cloak and Dagger series. I used to read the comic when I was younger. And the original 616 version, I believe they died. And Marvel managed to just bring them back somehow from the Ultimate Universe. And then if I'm correct, the Ultimate Universe, when they merged, they brought along Cloak and Dagger with them, bringing them back into the 616 helm. So that's how they got away with that, if I'm correct. These are a different version of Cloak and Dagger as well. So, but the Cloak and Dagger series, which is based upon the Ultimate series, if I'm correct, loosely based at least. This, we were wondering, like this and the Runaways, along with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., of course, we already knew that was connected to everything going on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But everybody was questioning, because there was all these rumors stating that, these weren't going to be connected to the Marvel Cinematic Universe in any type of form. These are just going to be separates. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever to hear. This has got to be a rumor. Thank God my instinct was right. Because this week, on an episode of Cloak and Dagger, they have revealed the connection to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And believe it or not, it's connected to one of our beloved defunct series. So, it was revealed in a scene where Tyrone, who is Cloak, met up with a kid from the streets who was involved in gang-related activities, but this kid also was responsible for saving Tyrone's mom at some point. They met up in a local diner, so they're become cool ever since, and now Tyrone's kind of looking after him, which I'm going to predict now this kid's not going to last. I see it. It just seems too cliche at this point. But the kid actually had a newspaper and asked Tyrone to read the headlines for him, and kind of revealed that to Tyrone that he couldn't read, or Tyrone realized that he couldn't read, so he asked him, "Could you don't read?" And he said he doesn't need to. He survives on the street. Really sad, of course, but Tyrone assists him and reads the paper, and the headline for this paper said, "Luke Cage and Harlem Rumble," written by Karen Page. Okay, not only that one line just revealed that they're connected, not only connected to Luke Cage's world, which is the street level Marvel universe of Netflix, but also Karen Page, which is connected to both The Punisher and Daredevil. So they just rounded up 3 different shows that this show is connected to. That is absolutely awesome, and it also really gave us a little bit of shout out love for those who love that show. Also, now it's making us wonder, what are they doing with that series now? They mention them. Are we going to see them? Or is there ever a chance that we're going to see Luke Cage or any of the characters in this, type of situation? Any of the Defenders at all? And by the way, I believe if I'm correct, Jessica Jones is coming out very soon, so stay tuned for that, because I will be reviewing that as well. So, and hopefully some of the Defenders will be on air. It's the final show of all of it. They need to go out with a bang and bring all the Defenders back, or someone. Nobody even knows who the new villain is for this series either. But I digress. Tyrone then tells the kid, if you want to be like Luke Cage, you got to develop those skills, those reading skills he was referring to. On a side note, last season, if you guys been watching, Hulu's other original Marvel series, The Runaways, had Alex Wilder, one of my favorite characters in there, mention Wakanda, connecting the show to the movies universe as well. So they are all connected. It is all still connected. They're still leaving those little subtle, beautiful hints that we love so much. And it's awesome. Honestly, what I want to see as far as crossovers, I would love to see the Runaways meet up with Cloak and Dagger, because I think that'll be an absolutely great thing. I think they should do what the CW doing, where Belanti Productions has done, and do their own crossover. I think they will do a great job. As far as the Cloak and Dagger series, I said I actually enjoy the series. However, I think my only negative, if I could give my only negative to the first 2 seasons, is that they don't have a really good antagonist in there. Cloak and Dagger are great, but they right now their villains aren't really spectacular. They don't really stand out. Like if you look at what the Runaways have been doing with the villains that they have on their show, phenomenal. The guy who plays who's Dr. Doom on the first 2 Fantastic Four series, he's the villain on air. He's great. He's absolutely great on air, and they got the whole, all of the family is great. Their parents are all evil. I love that. Then you have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which they are messing with the Krees. They messing with all these aliens and stuff like that. They had Graviton last year. They had Ghost Rider, fighting off demons from that point. You had Luke Cage, the first season. You had Cottonmouth. The second season, you had this other cat. I forgot the name of it, but he was on there too. I mean, you gotta have, in order to be a better protagonist, you have to have a even greater antagonist or villain, if you will. And I don't feel like they have a real good villain. The character Andre or Andrew. Is it Andrew or Andre? It's Andre, I think. Andre's been okay. He has a certain particular power that's draining women. And this is also a themed season that's talking about human trafficking, which is a very important thing to talk about. And I'm glad that they're doing it. But I think they really dropped the ball making this guy a bigger deal than they could have. He's not really somebody that I mean, because also there's some points of sympathy that they're trying to give him to with and understanding his background, but he hasn't been like a menacing villain enough to really hate you, or really somebody that's making that really is becoming a challenge to those two. So next week is going to be the season finale. We'll see how that goes, and hopefully by season 3 they'll have a bigger, badder villain. And but also that's the thing too. Cloak and Dagger really never had a actual real big antagonist, and I think that's why that series defunct the first time around. I think if they actually do have, I don't even care. I would have them get a villain from the Marvel Universe, somebody that they're not using in the movies, that they have license to. Now they got license to so many, and be able to put a spin on it for them to use in the series, and maybe start a new rival between the 3 or 4. You know, I mean, they could use anybody at this point now. They have all the characters at the helm now. So hopefully it'll be better. But I do love the show. I enjoy the show. I just think that what's keeping it from really being a great show is the lack of a really good villain in there so far. So we will see. Last bit of news. And congratulations to everybody who fought and complained, some may say bitch, about the recent upcoming Sonic the Hedgehog movie. You won. What was believed to say that they were coming out still in 2019 because the director plainly said they still have enough time to fix everything. They're not. As of right now, the film is being delayed to 2020. The reason being is because it's due to the overwhelming outcry of fans over the character's design. I gotta admit, I'm one of those people. Not to the way of I'm gonna sign a petition, but I was like, yeah, I'm not. That doesn't feel like Sonic to me. It looks like Sonic merged with, fused with, did a fusion with Howard the Duck. That's what he kind of looks like to me. Because the whole face thing, I didn't realize people were talking about the teeth. The teeth is kind of creepy, but to me it was like, I don't like the eyes. I don't like the way the eyes are placed. He doesn't look like the Sonic I love. The design of Sonic, this is, we're at a stage in our life as far as Hollywood that they have the ability to make everything we want come to life the way that we see it in the things that we love. If we see the Smurfs, we can see the Smurfs, a live action Smurf, the way we want to see it. We just watched Detective Pikachu that just came out, and they did that movie, and I think that also plays into the factor of why they said we're not coming out with this, because of the success of Detective Pikachu and the praise that everybody's been giving to that movie. Because that movie is really, really good. And not only is it really, really good, if you guys remember when I reviewed it, I praised it just for the fact that they gave us so much fanfare. They gave us what we want. The Pokemon looks exactly like the Pokemon that we see in the cards in the video game, but is brought to life and just subtly, gave it some real world features to it. Subtly. They didn't go overboard like they did with the Sonic design. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with this, and they're probably going to have to go back to formula, as William Dafoe would say in the original Spider-Man movie. I didn't particularly like it. I thought he was too hairy. He looked like a Muppet, like Grover. If you guys know who Grover is on the Muppets, he's like a blue, stringy-haired Muppet. Nobody really knows what the hell he is, but Sonic kind of had that stringy hair type of look too, but also it's just something about, he just felt off, just a tad bit off. So we will see. It won't come out until 2020. Congratulations to you all, it actually happened, and I do hope for success for this, but you did make a good first impression, and now even the fact that you said that it was going to come out, the director said he was going to come out still this year because they have enough time to make the changes. But now they bowing down to make sure. Kudos to them. Kudos to them for, listening to the fans and keeping it going. I can't be negative on them about that, because they could have just said, screw it, we're going to not listen to you. This is our version. We're going to do it. No, they want to make the fans happy. They want to be able to keep doing this franchise. So they're going to work hard to make it happen. So hopefully, I wish them the best for doing it. Congrats to the fans for getting their voices heard, and we'll see how it looks. Hopefully they'll get it right this time. Hopefully they'll get the eyes right. The eyes was my biggest thing. I didn't like the eyes. I like the eyes of the original. They could just make the eyes just the same. I don't care about the mouth in particular, but it is what it is from there. So we will see. Folks, that will do it for this edition of What's New in the World of ACMG. We're going to take a break, come back, and talk about our double feature review of Doom Patrol, the first season, and John Wick 3. We'll do that right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dak Xavier Josiah, the host of ACMG Presents Talk Time Live, the podcast. You want to catch up with all of our podcast shows and hear from some of the hottest names in all of anime, comics, movies, and games, such as...
This is Miley Flanagan, the voice of Naruto.
This is Stephanie Shea, the voice of Sailor Moon.
This is Ruben Langdon, voice of Ken Masters and Dante from Devil May Cry.
Hey there, this is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Ryu from Street Fighter V.
This is Chris Battle, character designer of Teen Titans Go.
Here's your chance to check out all of that and more on TalkTimeLive.com. TalkTimeLive.com provides all of our ACMG content with new and previous episodes, exclusive interviews, articles, and much more. Visit TalkTimeLive.com and let us help you learn to let go, live life, and love all things ACMG.
Talk Time Live.
This is Chris Battle, character designer of Teen Titans Go, and you are listening to ACMG Presents Talk Time Live.
Do it.
And now it's time for our talk topic of the week. Ready? Fight!
Song Hyrule Fills from the album The Triforce of Bass by DJ Cutman from Game Chops Music. And if you want to hear more from Game Chops, go to music.gamechops.com for this and much more. I highly recommend Mario and Chill and Zelda and Chill if you want to just sit back, relax, and enjoy game music at its best. So you'll be hearing much more of him in this show and in Talk Time. Well, not it's just Talk Time Live and Select Start, especially coming soon in the near future, as I said. So let's talk about our talk topic today, and that is our review of John Wick and the first season of Doom Patrol. I'm going to go ahead with John Wick first because this is already like a week removed from it, and it's already got a high praise. There's a lot of reasons for that. This is the definition of action movies. This is the definitive of action movies. This is the fundamentals of action movies brought back into the modern era with a little bit more impact to it. And Keanu Reeves, I mean, to all the jokes that have been done with this dude throughout the years of him being like a surfer dude or whatever like that, or, you know, eco-friendly type of dude or whatever, he brings it. He absolutely brings it hard, and when he wants to get the job done, he gets the job done. Not just as a super assassin, but also as an actor. People have been wondering if he was able to come back from his absolute meteoric success of playing Neo on The Matrix. And years later, he comes back and he's John Wick and changed the game. He's not just a one iconic hero type of actor. You know, this guy has multiple chops now. It was funny because I think some of us in the ACMG Facebook group were saying, I'm so used to him being Neo, I would have had a hard time wanting to see him as another character. I'm like, yeah, but you could say the same thing about Harrison Ford and Hugh Jackman. You know, and Michael Keaton to some extent. Like, those guys are iconic characters, you know, played iconic characters that, like, people felt that's their dude. Chris Evans, to some extent, you could say it too, because before he was Captain America, he was the Human Torch, and people loved him as the Human Torch. I mean, if you go back and watch the Fantastic Four movies, those are two different people. Like, Chris Evans don't get enough credit for his acting chops as well. But now he made another iconic. Like, this is, to me, his Indiana Jones. You know, to Neo's Han Solo, if you will. That's what it kind of reminds me of. This is like his Indiana Jones run of a character that he's playing. But this movie was absolutely fantastic. All three movies were great. I could dare say, if you haven't seen the second one, I'd definitely say you need to see the first one. But if you haven't seen the second one, you absolutely should go out of your way to see You don't really have to see the second one. And they made this movie where you could watch it and not have to be totally out of the loop of being caught up because of the events of the second movie. But with that said, I highly recommend you see all three because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful ballet of violence. And just a great storyline. I love the way this whole Guild of Assassins and how they coexist in the world and how they have these markers whenever they need somebody to do something. They have special markers that they give to them, letting them know what is needed. I love that part of this movie. It's so awesome. But let's talk about the storyline of part 3. The super assassin John Wick, according to IMDb, the super assassin John Wick is on the run after killing a member of the International Assassins Guild, based on part 2, and with a $14 million price tag on his head. He is the target of hitmen and women everywhere, including this major organization, which I forgot the name of the organization, but we'll talk about that indefinite. So let's just talk about the cast real quick. Again, we talked about Keanu Reeves already. I mean, he made this dude iconic. He made action movies great again. I hate to use that cliche, but it is what it is. He's phenomenal. He's absolutely fantastic in this movie. We don't see Keanu Reeves, we see John Wick. Like we didn't see Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, we see Neo. This is his character. People need to really give him a lot of credit for that. Halle Berry in this movie was really great too for the time that she was in this movie. She played Sophia, which again was a former assassin. Now she's running things. She's higher up in the assassin stratification, if you will, or the social stratification of assassins, and she's now running things a little bit bigger. But it kind of put the guns away and it missed. But because of a marker, which is a contract that that John Wick had, she is obligated to help him get to the main, the top of the assassin of the Guild of Assassins, to try to clear his name. And by doing so, she follows him, and she brings along 2 really beautiful, loving, but dangerous, if ever ready, dogs with her along the way. It was really, really absolutely cool. One of my favorite moments, in fact, is when they go on the hunt to find the leader of the guild, and the action scenes with the dogs are absolutely phenomenal. The things that these dogs do in the scene where they're trying to, they're actually trying to get away from the group of assassins trying to get at Sophia and John Wick. It's amazing. Those dogs, I was fearing for these dogs who had bulletproof vests on them. They were every bit as a star in this movie as the human actors as well. Like, these dogs were no joke. I absolutely loved them. Ian McShane. I don't know if I should talk about him enough. Well, it's been a week. I'm going to do it. Ian McShane is Winston, who was kind of like the cool character that John Wick always relied on in the first 2 movies. He played it well. What they were going to do, apparently, the Educator was actually going to make his place not deemable for assassins to come in if he was helping John Wick. In fact, nobody could help John Wick because he was on the run and he was a wanted man. But Winston decided to do so anyway because the Educator was actually played by Asia Kate Dillon, by the way. Beautiful, stunning woman. She decided that, since he's going to help John Wick, he helped John Wick at the time of the assassin, because the assassination happened that John Wick did was in the building, was in the hotel that he runs. And that was a penalty upon punishment for everybody. And she hired these group of assassins that I'll talk about shortly that has been like insane in this damn movie, coming in to attack everybody who's ever helped John Wick, and they were punished in certain type of ways. It was really crazy. So he plays in here, but also he makes a shocking, and I mean shocking, twist of events at the end of the movie, meaning he turned on John Wick. And I still don't know when he did that at the end, when he turned on John Wick at the end. I don't know if he actually, I really, really, really find it hard to believe that he actually turned on John Wick, because that's the part to me. It didn't feel cutthroat. I almost felt like he knew John Wick was going to survive that. So I don't know where this is going, but if he really wanted to kill off John Wick, I would have shot him in the head, to be honest. He did. He shot him in the body, which the body was bulletproof. His suit was bulletproof. And he fell down a few flights of stairs. I don't know if that was... I'm still not convinced that he was maliciously turning on John Wick. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next with that. Lawrence Fishburne. The return of Lawrence Fishburne, the Bowery King. It's great to see Keanu and Lawrence Fishburne back together, because you got that hint moment for Matrix fans of you got Morpheus and Neo back together. Absolutely tremendous. So, it's Lawrence Fishburne, man. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. Bar none. Him, Charles S. Dutton, a few other people. I mean, like, I there's nothing. I love Lawrence Fishburne, man. He demands your attention. I love him on Blackish. I mean, he's very comical. Rarely do we get to see a lighthearted comedy version of Lawrence Fishburne, but we do on Blackish. But when he really pulls it on, when he wants to be that leader, he wants to be that serious. Like ever since Boys in the Hood, that's when I first really saw him. I didn't realize that he was in the School Days from way back, but it was Boys in the Hood that really stopped me. He's the reason why I now collect the Chinese, stress balls that you see often around. He was the first one I saw it in Boys in the Hood, but he was the Bowery King in here, and I loved him. Very charismatic in this, and I thought he went out like a trooper with the way he did in this movie, and come to find out, he's still alive as well. So that's pretty awesome. Like, assassins don't die easily. They do not die easily here. So I enjoyed his character as well. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's done this. Mark Dacascos. This dude, oh man. You guys know him. He's been on a lot of really cool movies as well. I think I saw him in a Brotherhood of the Wolf. That's where I remember him from as well. And some other movies as well. He's from Hawaii Five-0. He's been on, I believe he was the chairman of Iron Chef. He's done a lot of things. He was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well, a few episodes too, if I remember correctly. But he's everywhere. But he really did a great job. I loved him on this, and he was Zero. He was a sous chef or a sushi chef, and just happened to be an assassin. And when the educator gave him the marker, he was out. He took out everybody. Him and his boys took out everybody that helped John Wick, including Bowery King. And he was absolutely fantastic. His biggest fandom was John Wick. He wanted to be like John Wick. He felt like he was the same as John Wick, except all up until the point that he owns a cat. But he was great in here as well. I hated to see him go. Maybe he's gone, maybe not, who knows. But I think he actually died. I think he really died in here, but he was tremendous in here. Lance Reddick, another guy who's been here since the beginning. I'm not convinced that these guys were actually turning on John Wick in here. I'm still not convinced of it. But another favorite part of the movie that I'm going to talk about with him, involving him and John Wick, when they had Winston in a locked vault as he's drinking wine, waiting for them to kill all of Zero's assassins and everything that were trying to come in to kill both of them in the mist, and they kept coming back to get more guns and everything. It was a really funny, cool part, because you never really ever see something like that, whereas like normally in action movies, they got enough guns to take out everybody. Not in this movie. They ran out of guns. They needed different guns because they needed armor-piercing guns, and they went back almost like it felt like a pit stop moment for in NASCAR, or a timeout in football. Seeing that part. So and all along, Winston is just sitting there chilling, drinking red wine, just chilling. So that was really cool too. Angelica Houston, for the short time that she was in here, she was awesome. I really felt bad for those ballet dancers, because she tortured the hell out of them. Even a disgusting scene where they had the nail being taken out because of how many times she made them, spin during ballet. It was heartening, but she played it well. But she was another assassin that owed John Wick's that John Wick had a marker for her, and the things that they did were it was insanely remarkable in this movie. Overall, this movie it really gave you everything. Take note, if this is not for the weak at heart. If you are not a fan of this type of movie, if you're a female listening to this movie and you're not a fan of this movie and your man wants to take him, this is the time when you want them to go on your own, because you might not be able to handle watching this. There's some very violent stuff going on here. We got a lot more jaded people nowadays that can tolerate, that has a bigger tolerance for this stuff. But some people are still a little bit icky. I could never take my wife to go see this movie because I think she would be closing her eyes the entire time. Yeah, she's old school. But this movie, for action fans, gave you every single thing that you ever asked. Great story, great character development, great everything. I absolutely enjoyed it. I give this an absolute A+, and I am so looking forward to John Wick, Chapter 4, because they are pissed. They are pissed. We last see John Wick being carried away after being shot off the roof after Winston makes a deal with the Agitator, and lo and behold, he gets carried away. His body disappears. We think he technically is still alive, but who is the guy that's on Brooklyn Nine-Nine? He was on Brooklyn. I forgot his name, the actor's name on there, but he carried him away because the Bowery King always plays. He plays kind of like a homeless guy, and that's his portrayal. But it's just them actually undercover being assassins in this case. And what is his? No, that's not him. I forgot the guy's name, but he played on Brooklyn Nine-Nine before, and he was hilarious in there. He played a detective that was dating Torres, I believe, and he was funny as hell, psychotic as hell as well. But he wound up being one of the guys to carry John Wick away, and lo and behold, we find out that the Bowery King is still alive, and now he wants to team up with John Wick to get revenge. All this after the fact of John Wick having to clear his name and getting his finger cut off as a form of sacrifice for getting his finger cut off. The idea was that he would needed to take out Winston. Doing so that was he had to give a sacrifice in order to do it. He gave away his finger. All that, and he never even tried to kill Winston, only for Winston to kill him, or attempt to kill him. So it plays a factor right there, but it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen, because now they're going to get the Agitator and the organization that rules all the assassins, including the main assassin, and this is going to be interesting. Now he's going to be coming after Winston, too. So we'll see what's going to happen in part 4. But go out of your way to check this movie out. Go out of your way to see all of them, because they all were great. They all were fantastic. And I am totally into John Wick at this point. We need it. I love my comic book movies, but, it's great to see that the action series did not die out at all. So I absolutely love it there. So go out of your way to check it out. Last but not least, I've been waiting to talk about this for quite some time. I go in and out of the DC Universe app. $7.99. I pay them off, watch everything I need to watch, unsubscribe, get back on at a time. So I decided to go back in to watch the entire season of Doom Patrol. And I gotta say, I watched a few episodes when it first came out. I had a chance because it came out at the time when I was watching. I decided to wait until it all came back and just jumped back on, paid the fee, got back on there and binge. This is the most out of this world. I can't describe what type of. This should not work. This was like, we talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, how that was so out of this world and I can't come up with a word for it, but it's like. The mindset to make this is just so, like, the imagination that it took to make this and to make this happen and to bring this to life is outstanding. James Gunn was able to do it. Greg Berlanti, was able to do this as well. Creator Jeremy Carver did a great job. And, this, for me, and for a lot of people who actually got a chance to see this series, did not disappoint. You had these crazy mixed match group of characters in here with all superpowers, and it literally is a band of misfits in here. The land of the misfit toys, if you will. Literally. You had Diana Guerrera from Orange is the New Black, which, by the way, they actually premiered that the final season is coming. I'm looking forward to that. And she looks like she's going to be making a return in there as well. She's been on a roll lately. She's been on the new Justice League movie that came out recently. She was the star of that. She's Crazy Jane on here, who's from the Underground, and Underground is a whole bunch of different personalities in her mind. And I thought this was absolutely a phenomenal role for her because she got to literally play as a total amount of different characters, the same way that James McAvey did in Split, where he was just playing multiple characters. The cool part about her is that Jane, with every character, with every new personality that she has, each personality has a different power. And I think there's like 30 different, people inside of her, and each one of them have a different superpower of their own. It's really crazy. And that's why they call her Crazy Jane. With that, it allows her to be very creative with her acting ability, and just to do a role like that. Like I said, the same thing about James McAvey. To play a role like that, you have to be very versatile, and it really challenges you to really stretch out. Every time she plays a different character, you don't feel like it's the same character. It seems like a totally different person, and that takes a hell of a lot of skill to do. It speaks volumes about what Deanne can do for that character, and she's great. She's one of my favorite characters in here. April Bowlby is Elastigirl. I love this woman, mostly because of 2.5 Men. She was on there as Candy. Not only was she drop dead hot in that show, but she was absolutely funny as hell because she played some more sort of a brain dead type of character, but she was just brain dead but gorgeous character. Well, in Doom Patrol, she gets to play an entirely different character, and with a higher depth of character in here. If you put her to the character of Candy on 2.5 Men, total contrast of personalities and character development here. But I feel like she got to play, she's played in other roles before too, but I feel like me seeing her, she got to play a more pivotal role here, and she got to be a little bit more of an intelligent woman, a strong-minded woman, who's trying to, be reprimanded and redeem herself of all of the evil, malicious ways she was way back in decades ago when she was an actual actor in the 30s or whatever. She now, because of Elastigirl, she can, remain her skin can remain as youthful as possible, but whenever she gets stressed out, she becomes a total blob. So she's still trying to, fight herself and her emotions throughout this whole entire thing. And again, this brings a lot more depth to her character. This brings a lot more level, a step up in level of acting for April. And I really respect her abilities in this movie, in this series. I really enjoyed it. They all the characters had some form of, redemption that they had to go through in their own lives together, not only to help themselves, but to help each other throughout this thing, and to allow them to be able to save the professor, who actually had the ability to take away Mr. Nobody, actually, who had to take away Timothy Dalton's character, who was actually Chief in here, the Professor Xavier, if you will, of the group in here. And also the one that is responsible for all of their powers, apparently. So, great there. Alan Tudyk, actually. This guy, I've seen him in so many different things. He has a phenomenal voice. He is such a great voice in this show. Not only just as Mr. Nobody, but he is the narrator of the series. And he gets the opportunity to not only be as charismatic as he could be, but also he has the ability to break the fourth wall. He not only breaks the fourth wall throughout the series and talks about, he acknowledges that we're watching the DC Universe app, that we're watching this show from the app, from DC Universe, that there are people who are trolling out there on Twitter. He actually reads some of the actual, I really have reason to believe that these are actual tweets that he's reading off on the show from that people have given on the show. It's phenomenal. He outdoes himself in this one. I loved him. It's one of my favorite characters on Transformers. One of the Transformers movies that he's done. He's awesome in there. Everybody knows him from Firefly and all the other shows that he's been on. He's just been absolutely fantastic. This dude can do no wrong. He absolutely does no wrong. I thought he played a really good antagonist in here, and Mr. Nobody. Very crazy. Come to find out that he considers himself a loser, and his backstory and everything that goes into it as to why he became this outer being, this anomaly, if you will, of reality, and was able to manipulate reality in so many different ways, so much to the point that he can also talk to us, from the fourth wall. It's really great. I thought this is what I was talking about when I was talking about Cloak and Dagger. It has to be a great series because it needs a great antagonist. And I thought that Alan's portrayal of Eric Modon, a.k.a. Mr. Nobody, was absolutely great for this particular thing. And it was like, I can't do this show justice by just talking about some of the things that happened on the show. I mean, I'm talking the last episode alone, and I posted this on the ACMG Facebook group, a rat and a roach. And I just left it at that, because those who watched the final episode understood what exactly I was talking about. When are you ever going to see a roach and a rat tongue kiss and make out? I can't do it justice. It just makes everything that happens in the show is like literally batshit crazy. It shouldn't make sense. It shouldn't connect. It really just shouldn't. It just really shouldn't, but it does. All of the stories make sense. They managed to do it. And not only that, it's not only just it has that mystique of The Watchmen, but it also has a lot of comedy in there too. And the character development here is just so good. Each one of them had their own stories. Matt Bonner. No, it is Matt Bonner, actually. He plays Larry Traynor, who is a man that works for the Air Force way back in, I believe, the 30s again, or the 50s or the 60s or whatever. And he's a gay guy that at the time they weren't accepting gay, gay community back then, so they had to hide themselves from it. And plus he was married too, and all of a sudden he goes on this trip to space when in fact it went wrong. His whole entire body burned to crisp, but he also managed to meet a being of energy that infuses within him, not only keeping him alive but keeping him young after all this time as well. But the downfall is that he's burnt to a crisp and his whole entire body is burnt, so he has to wrap himself in bandages. His whole entire body is wrapped in bandages because his whole entire body is just, to him, is hideous, and it would scare everybody else. So he wraps his entire self in wraps, but he also at times is fused with this energy, this being of energy that also leaves his body. And when he leaves his body, apparently he loses the will to be able to move or whatnot. He can't live without him because he's outlived his life, and this being of energy is keeping his body alive for longer than it should, So I mean, it was great, but also he had to cope with the things that he had to go through in life. Hiding the fact that he was gay, deceiving his wife at the same time and his family, and he had his own things to go to. Then we have the return of Brendan Fraser. When was the last time we actually see Brendan Fraser? I think last time I seen Brendan Fraser was on G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra. That's the last time I seen that dude. And I think this, of all the roles that I've ever seen and enjoyed him on, this has to be my absolute favorite. He played Cliff Still. This was a role that I think that he had so much fun in doing. He played Cliff Still, who was a legendary famous racetrack driver and who was also married, but he was just doing all types of dirt in between. He's famous, so he's just like he's married, he has a kid, he's cheating on his wife, he's banging, and by the way, Doom Patrol is not a rated PG. This is not a PG-13 show. This is like total rated R. This is rated R at its best. Because there's a lot of things going on, a lot of nudity, some like sex scenes, all this. So you got Brendan Fraser like just like nailing the hell out of their maid in this whole entire thing. And he's always having issues with his wife, and come to find out, they got into this really bad car accident where Cliff still survived, but apparently his wife did not. His daughter, comes to find out, is still alive, but thinks that he's dead. And somehow, some way, thanks to the chief, he ends up being, still. He ends up becoming like a robot man. And his brain is in the body of a robot because they couldn't revive his whole entire thing. And Chief managed to keep him alive from that. But unfortunately, his dilemma is he's unrecognizable to anybody who's ever known him, including his best friend who ended up marrying his wife at the time, and his daughter. Not to mention, he can't feel, he can't taste, he can't eat. He's just a brain in a robot's body from that point. Timothy Dalton as Chief. He hasn't been on the show as long. He's not on every episode, but the idea is that the Chief has been kidnapped by Dr. Nobody, and they're trying to save him. But they got to coexist in order to save him. In order to save him, they got to work as a team, and it's hard to work as a team when they're all battling, their own demons and battling each other. But Timothy Dalton, they treat him like royalty in this series, and rightfully so. I mean, it's amazing how this man's career skyrocketed from just being James Bond, nothing else. Like his fame literally is from just being James Bond. That's it. And he's on the list of one of the Bonds, one of the best Bonds ever. To some people, he's like one of the best. And he's just highly respected in this entire film. But when he comes in, there is a presence made from him, and he plays Chief really well in this series. For the time he's in, and the big reveal at the end, of course, that he set all of the Doom Patrol team up to actually be in the position that they are now. Even from way back when Elastigirl was out and Larry Trainer was there. He was the reason why they all have powers, why they all in this mix-up situation. Even Cliff Steele, he set up the actual accident that occurred, which then killed off his wife and let him he was responsible for all that. It was crazy. So, I mean, you got all of these things, man. And I got to talk about Javon Wade, who played Cyborg. Two people, actually, I got to mention. Javon Wade, who played their version of Cyborg. So, yeah, this is totally, the thing is, I don't know if this is connected to, it's done by Greg Berlanti Productions, which also does The Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow. I don't know if these shows are connected, but they're done by the same production company. So I don't know if they're all in the same world or not. That's the question. Like the Titans. Also, I know the Titans. Doom Patrol was a spinoff of the Titans, but I don't know if any of these are connected to the Arrowverse. That's going to be the question, because they're all done by the same people. Now, if you guys don't recognize Javon, he's played in quite a few different other movies and shows too. I can't put a finger on. He was on Doctor Who. I can't put a trace as to what actual memorable series this dude has been in, but he's playing the role of Cyborg here, which he was on the first Purge too. That's what I've seen him from. He was definitely on the first Purge. So other than that, I don't know exactly what he was in, but they allowed him to play Cyborg here, which is obviously not connected to the Cyborg from DC Films in the Justice League series. He's playing a totally different version of Cyborg. It's the same, the Cyborg that we are used to, Victor Stone, but just a different universe version of him. So at first, the first few episodes, I was kind of skeptical as to first of all, he seems a little bit shorter than the Cyborg that we know. I don't know if he's supposed to be playing a teen version of Cyborg here. I don't know, but he was definitely shorter than the version that we are used to, or the one from the DC films, from the Justice League films. However, after a while watching him, and I saw the smoke and mirrors that they did, if you guys know Cyborg, he has a blaster that he uses a lot. So what they did to kind of, I guess budget cut the situation was, instead of doing special effects like they did on DC films, there were times where it was weird how they did it, but it somehow worked, where he had his, cybernetic arm, but when he wanted to change to a blaster, they managed to turn or edit the times when he wears the blaster or something. It's really weird how they did it, but somehow it worked out. And there were times where you see that he had the blaster and was using it, then other times where he had his regular arm, but they never had the show of at least all the time they didn't show the transformation of him turning his hand into a blaster in there. But for the most part, he played a really kind of laid back, open-minded personality version of, he felt more human than cybernetic, whereas, or at least he wasn't as uptight as the original Cyborg that we all know and love, for like the adult Cyborg. He had a little bit more personality here, and sometimes I was questioning whether it was too much personality for that character, because I love the way the portrayal of Cyborg normally is on the animated versions. Like, he was just laid back and cool, whereas this one was like, he was a little bit more abrasive than Norm and accepting. He worked with his father, and that was the other thing too. He was way more sympathetic with his father in this, and that kind of threw me off, because if you've known the story of Cyborg, you know that him and his father don't have a good relationship. And of course, then we learn at the end of the season, he really started having animosity for his father, which really started feeling a little bit more like the relationship between the two. So it was like, became a slow burn. But normally what happens is Cyborg, when he became Cyborg, he then had animosity for his father because his father would never give him the time of day, and never thought highly of his athletic collegiate career that he was aiming for. He wanted him to, be involved in science like he did. So he never really gave him the time of day. But in this one, in the beginning, we saw him in Silas Stone, played by Phil Morris, the absolutely wonderful Phil Morris. Most of you guys remember from as Jackie Childs from Seinfeld. He played the father, and I thought this was a great choice. He also plays a lot of voice roles as well on animated series, but he was great as Silas Stone in here. And down the line, you started seeing the relationship start to become more bitter and bitter, and then Cyborg learning more about his father and what happened. So there you started seeing that animosity come back. So it ended up being more like the whole situation. It was like a slow burn to me, but by the end, I really started digging his version, Wade's version of Cyborg, and I thought it was really cool. I thought they did a really good job putting everything together. By the end of this, you really enjoyed all of the characters. You enjoyed the storyline. You enjoyed their journey leading up to Mr. Nobody, and, finding out that Eric Mulder is nothing more than a guy that's just trying to prove his worth to the League of Evil. It was funny. They did a flashback episode with him and his wife trying to, encourage him to be the top villain of all of the League, which I thought was hilarious. Like, it's just a normal occupation and job to them to be in this league. And it was really cool. So if anybody has not watched the DC Universe, any of the DC Universe shows, because their shows, I really like their shows. I absolutely like their shows a lot. I got to give them credit. They have a lot of great content. They got content from the past. They got content that they're coming out now. Swamp Thing is the next one up. I'm looking forward to checking that out and reviewing that as well. But I got to say, even though Titans had a slow start with what was going on in their world, and it just ended up being much better, I dare say Doom Patrol was really, really good, and I almost think it's better than what they did with Titans. It was so crazy and out of its world, but it worked. The stories worked. The characters were great. Like I said, Brendan Fraser, I loved him in this series. Everybody, the entire cast, but Brendan Fraser, I loved him because it felt like he was having fun. He was able to just do whatever the hell he want, and he was cursing up a storm, and he was just like always angry. And rightfully so for some reason, but it was just great. And his relationship with Jane too. I felt like he was trying to have that relationship, that daughter-father relationship with Jane that he could never have before. And her trying to, control everything that's going on within the underground in her mind was really interesting. So their relationship is really cool as well. By the end, looks like they started coexisting really well. But I'm looking forward to see what's going to happen in season 2 and who they're going to be facing at this point, because they all moved on, but who's to say what's going to happen next? Anything can happen in this thing, but it was very entertaining. Loved the season. I got to give this an A. I got to absolutely give this an A. I had no problems with the season. It was so risk-taking. This is a very risk-taking type of thing to do, and not many people can write a great story like this. And you got the right cast to do it. I thought these guys were awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do next with it. So go out of your way to check it out. If there's any reason to check out the DC Universe app, Doom Patrol is one of those reasons. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're doing with Swamp Thing. You also got Titans, which ended up being really good. I'm looking forward to the second season of that as well. And you also got Young Justice, which is kind of like the flagship of this whole entire thing. But they're grooming, they're homegrown. I gotta admit, they're really doing well with this streaming app. And Disney Plus, your move. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with the Marvel franchises that they're coming out with. They got WandaVision, they got Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming up, and it's going to be based on the aftermath of Endgame. All of them are going to be based on the aftermath of Endgame. There's a rumor, speaking of WandaVision, there are reports and rumors talking about that Wanda is going to have the reality-bending powers that we all know and love from the comics in here, and this might be the reason why Vision comes back some form or fashion. So we will see what's going to happen, but go out of your way to check this out. Folks, that will do it for this edition of ACMG Presents Talk Time Live. Thank you so all very much. Again, thank you to DJ Cutman for allowing me to have such great music on the show as well. Go out of your way again. Check him out at music.gamechops.com. Check all of his stuff out. He got some great apparel, too. I'm actually going to be sporting his hat coming soon on its way here as well. So go out of your way to check him out. Support him. Check him out. Keep up the faith. And support us as well on Talk Time Live, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, and anywhere else you can find us as well. You can also check me out. Follow me on Instagram at Xavier Josiah. Keep up with everything that I'm going on there and keep up with the show as well from there. Again, TalkTimeLive.com has all of the episodes as well as all the other places, as well as our exclusives. You can check out all the exclusive of all the talent, the actors, the game developers, the artists that I had the pleasure of talking to in our Talk Time Live exclusive. You can go to our exclusive page, or you can just directly type in TalkTimeLive.com/exclusives and check out all that and much more. We're going to have much more guests coming soon, and some other maybe big surprises coming soon as well. So stay tuned for that and much, much more. But for now, I wish everybody a great, happy, and safe Memorial Day. Salute to all the troops out there, and thank you for all your services out there. I wish you all the best, and remember what we're doing this holiday for. But for now, enjoy yourself. I know there's going to be a bunch of barbecues out there. But so this is Xavier Josiah saying, learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is ACMG Presents Talk Time Live. I am out of here. Stay tuned. Select Start coming up this week. Take care.